How would I describe Denver? Growing.
Denver is home for me.
You know, Denver's an interesting place.
Oh man, honestly, I love Denver, you know what I mean?
I would describe Denver as a diverse and fairly large community.
The Mountain West, to clarify, right? It's the Mountain West. It's not the Midwest. It's not the West. We're the Mountain West, right? But the dynamic of Denver has always been this place that, you know, you can come to and thrive in.
Denver is a welcoming, inclusive, exciting, very innovative city, full of people with big hearts and big mountains.
It's always been a little city, kind of like a big little city, but now it's a big city. It's, you know, the economy is, even through the pandemic, while it took a hit, it's one of the best economies in America, if not the world. The other side of that, the complexity, is that not everybody's benefited from all that growth and from all that prosperity. People are starting to recognize that because it's becoming very tangible in so many real ways. The city of Denver does have a comprehensive youth violence prevention plan. Honestly, the city, it probably would not exist without Cities United's involvement. I participated in Roadmap Academy in 2018. Man, it was like, it's just like somebody gave me the game, right? Like all the dots were connected between understanding how your city's supposed to support your community, how from a community side, how to get political will, and met with Mayor Fisher from Louisville, and learn from community organizations out there who have been working the process, have been working the roadmap. And so I came back to Denver just excited.
Biggest component of Cities United I've been part of has been their technical assistance around a youth violence prevention plan. Some of the struggles we've had aren't unique to Denver. So having Cities United say, you know, other cities are struggling with getting cutting red tape for funding. Other cities are struggling with this. I think, and then pointing to cities like Sacramento and saying their safe zones have been really, really impactful toward reducing gun violence. Maybe you can connect with them. So their ongoing technical assistance with our youth violence prevention efforts has really allowed us to, one, not get frustrated and when we run into things, because they too understand that and have seen it in other places, and also has provided some guidance in where we might could learn from other cities. We wouldn't be where we are right now without the support of Cities United around our youth violence prevention efforts.
So for a long time, the work towards youth violence prevention, gun violence prevention, suicide prevention, all these things were not necessarily collectively placed. And in 2019, it was Mayor Hancock who had the vision and had the understanding and had the insight that says, this really needs to have the attention in which it deserves. If we're going to come up with solutions, we need a team of people who within the city who are going to be focused specifically and primarily on youth violence prevention. And that's when he pulled together the youth violence prevention plan.
I think the first thing that we should understand is that City United really guided us to think, what's your lane, city? And get in that lane, and to be the best in that lane you possibly can. You're not going to solve this issue by yourself. You're going to have to engage partners throughout the city. And so we built a strong collaborative network of partners all over the city to help us with this work. And the city really got in its lane of being one funder to technical support and advisement to these organizations. Once we did that, it becomes clear that we don't have to be the ones to carry this tremendous burden of dealing with this public health challenge facing our young people, but that we could lean on and engage all of our partners around the city and have even greater reach. I think that's a tremendous impact that Cities United had with us, and their advisement really placed us in a position to be more effective.
We've been very creative and innovative about pulling city partners who normally wouldn't be a part of youth violence prevention.
I'm the city attorney, but I've also been very involved with the Youth Violence Prevention Action Table since the beginning. And so our goal is to bring stakeholders from across the city, from government, business, nonprofits, youth together to work on violence prevention strategies.
So I serve as the director for Denver Public Safety Youth Programs, and we provide programs that are intended to divert kids away from or out of the juvenile justice system. When we started, it was around employment and diversion, actually diverting kids out of the juvenile justice system at that time. A lot of our work focuses in on prevention. So how do we keep kids from actually hitting the system? How do we identify young people early on that maybe need support? And really have a model that is going to be a wraparound model to support not only the young person, but also the entire family.
We've also been engaging directly with youth, and we found that was a key to success for us.
We have our Youth Advisory Council and youth leaders like Dane Washington Jr.
I grew up here in Denver and Park Hill specifically. I grew up here as a young boy playing football out here, and man, I've been involved in so much and seen so much over the years and seen how impacted our youth is specifically in our community. And you know, I figured the only thing that I can do to see any type of change is being a part of the change. You know what I mean? Not waiting for something to happen, but you get tired of seeing, you know, people you know end up on a Facebook post or an Instagram post, a RIP post, you know what I mean? Or just seeing kids on a daily basis who have to go through struggles, and you got to figure out how to help and figure out a way to help support the next person. You know what I mean?
We've been able to be very innovative and creative about who plays a role in youth violence prevention and reach out to city agencies that normally wouldn't play a role in city, youth violence prevention, like Denver Arts and Venues led by Tariana. You know, she was able to find funding to host 4 block parties in a neighborhood that was under-resourced. It was just incredible.
Arts and culture can be a powerful vehicle for healing, for social justice, for social change, and especially when we think about the role of government in healing community, especially during this time, arts and culture can be at the heart of it all. And when we think about youth, we think about our future, and youth were telling us that they were in need. Youth were telling us that we needed to do something to bring people together. And I think arts and culture through this program, it was a great example of how we can actually bring people together and address mental health in a way that was as much about arts and culture, but also as much about community and as much about making people feel, especially youth, feel seen and reminding them that they matter.
And then even the idea to have those block parties was one of our community leaders and entertainers, DJ K-Tone.
So I really just had, it started with just an idea, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to do something different. I wanted to create something different, you know. I wanted to do a party, but I didn't necessarily want to be a party, but I wanted it to be in the city, in the hood, and community. You know, Park Hill is the foundation, I think, for me, and I think we needed to bring it back to where it all started for us. The vision started in my head, but I think Jonathan McMillan pieced the rest of that up.
And then there's even the private sector to an extent with the Center of Study and Prevention of Violence with Dave and the Power of One team.
So we've been working on, it started as a media campaign to reduce youth violence, and actually working with youth to run that campaign, come up with the messages for the campaign, and then also come up with the tactics and strategies for that campaign. And so they came up with this concept called the Power of One.
So Power of One was initially created as a youth violence prevention media campaign structured through CU Boulder and some community boards here in Park Hill and out in Montbello, focusing on youth violence prevention. So it took a step from just a media campaign to like us hiring on licensed therapists to really go and work with the youth about mental health and figuring out ways ways now on how we can introduce some workshops into the community for like personal development, professional development, that type of stuff for youth in the community, and really just figuring out things that youth need here, and figuring out ways that we can push that into the community and get some buyback from the community as well.
So we have like ads and commercials about youth violence prevention on social media. And then we also did these live events. So they used to be called pool parties, the Power of One lounges. So we still do those. And then we thought this was a great way to, let's partner with the block parties and do more events. We wanted to make sure that we gave out a lot of resources so that families and youth in the communities could access like mental health services, basic needs, food, housing, that kind of stuff. And so we were able to use some of our Power of One funding. With that, we were able to get the youth kind of in a planning relationship with K-Tone and the city so that we could make sure the block parties looked exactly how the youth wanted them to look and met everybody's needs.
The thing that makes me the most optimistic is that this is an innovative approach. Traditionally, for years, decades at this point, anytime violence is a problem in the community, the typical response, the historic response is criminal justice, law enforcement approach. We're going to bring in law enforcement and try to arrest our way out of the problem. Our approach, with this public health approach, begins with looking at the root causes. It begins with helping families get the resources that they need to build strong families. And in long term, we're looking at building healthy, hopeful, productive communities rather than breaking them apart through incarceration and arrest.
So we are making progress, but I think the key is that we're touching young people, and we're touching them in a different way beyond just law enforcement as a mechanism to deal with a challenge that really is a public health issue. And we can be more effective by addressing it in this more comprehensive manner.